Yeah, have a good one.
Just so you know, there, boys, cowbells and signs aren't cooperating. We need black little things. Yeah, for everybody else. Just for the reverse. Yeah. You should have saw it here last night. Apparently we got roasted on the.
Oh yeah.
It was
I was happy.
Stu's girlfriend and sister.
Yeah.
Stu's girlfriend was low.
Good morning, everybody. We started off the playoffs on Tuesday, the round robin portion with 8 teams, and now we are down to the 2 teams you see here today. There is Team Murphy with their yellow and gray jackets taking on Mark Dacey, who's got gray jackets. You can see the back of Andrew Gibson and Mark Dacey. Welcome, everybody. Championship Sunday here on Bell 5 TV1's coverage of the 2018 Nova Scotia Deloitte Tankard. Good morning once again, everybody. My name is Dan Hobson, joined alongside here by Slane Thompson and our producer, Sean Seneschal. Glad we can bring this one to you. And, of course, we'll run down the teams here as you take a look at the Mark Dacey team. Out of the Mayflower Curling Club, their lead is Luke Saunders, their second is Stephen Burgess, third Andrew Gibson, and skipped by Mark Dacey out of the Mayflower Curling Club. Jamie Murphy, who will have the hammer here in first, is throwing the yellow stones. Their lead is Phelps Kroll, Scott Zachary, Paul Fleming, and Jamie Murphy, coached by Bruce Lonas out of the Halifax Curling Club. Delighted to have Selena Thompson here along for the call, and should be a good game, and pretty well, love these one and done things. You got to pretty well win to go to the championship, so it's not a best of 5, not a best of 7. It's just whoever wins the game goes to the Nationals.
Absolutely, and they had to be fair, they did have to earn their right to be in this game and win lots of games to do so. They're the top teams by records all week, and with Dacey defeating Thompson in the semifinal last night, put him right here. Jamie Murphy, of course, earned the berth to this final by virtue of having the top round robin record. And these 2 teams actually had the same record, 5-2, but because Murphy had beat Dacey in the round robin game, that was the difference.
And of course, as you mentioned, that round robin game, they met in the 4th draw. And so that, of course, is, as you mentioned, the win there by Murphy in that one. So, and it basically was, at the time, didn't seem to be important, but it is now, as it got him pretty well punched his ticket to the final, as they both had similar 5-2 records. Well, to take a look at Luke Saunders here, probably going to look like be a clean first end, and walking around the Dartmouth Curling Club with seeing some of the teams do their little pre-game routines and everything. It's just like a normal day at the office, but they know that there is a lot in stake. But based upon, of course, their demeanor and the way they've always acted, hey, it's just another day, and it's another day at the rink, so they're happy, and we're happy everybody can join us here on a Sunday morning. Pancakes, waffles, toast, everything here at the Nova Scotia Deloitte Tankard on Bell 5 TV1. Delighted you can join us.
It's interesting what you say, Dan, about just treating it like another game, and that's really what they have to do. I mean, you can't ever put it totally out of your head that you're in the provincial final, and both these teams have been in this situation many times before. Different pregame routines, but certainly, of note between these 2 teams, it's the Murphy rink that's always before their game, a certain amount of time. And different teams do it differently. They just happen to come to the club upstairs and, have some team games and loosen up, and that really gets you settled for any game as if it were just another one, even though, of course, it's not.
Let's talk about the Jamie Murphy path here to the finals. Started off with a win over Mike Fleming, and then a loss to Brett McDougall and a win against Greg Power. And of course, as you mentioned, the win over Mark Dacey, and then wins over Kendall Thompson, Chad Stevens, and wrapped up the round robin portion with a loss to Stuart Thompson. But at that time, he pretty well knew that he was going to be automatically going to the final and get a little bit of a rest. And for the Dacey team, it was another quick turnaround, playing last night and then back here again this morning. So a grueling schedule for sure, but the teams, of course, are in good physical condition, and so it's not really affecting them too much. So we should be in for a dandy. Do you think it will be high scoring, low scoring? Knowing both the teams as much as you do, where do you think?
Yeah, again, it's more the same from last night in the semifinal. Both teams not scared to play aggressive, maybe a little conservative in the first couple ends here. We saw that in the semifinal last night, where it was Mark Dacey, Stuart Thompson, both very aggressive calls throughout the tournament, and took it easy in the first couple of ends. But here we see, with any chance to go around that little tiny smidgen of a corner guard that's there, Jamie's going to take it. It's low risk. You're probably still going to be able to blank the end, and may as well try and get your 2 points here when you have hammer, because by virtue of that first place berth, that also awarded the Murphy team with the hammer.
Tried to come in behind, but do come up just a little bit late.
So now it's dilemma time for Mark, probably, but I think I know what he's going to do.
There you see the call on your screen. So
he's not going to worry about that other side of the sheet and try and peel and risk jamming and spilling the yellow into the rings. He'll just ask Andrew Gibson to put the stone on the other side and draw play away from those very, very tight and wide guards.
Third stones here are won as we take a look at Andrew Gibson. Right now, Saunders Burgess hovering over the stone. Now Saunders gets on it, and he's working hard now with those salmon shoes, I guess you could say. And Burgess with an extra scrub there, so it'll come to a stop. 4-foot area. New addition to this team from last year, of course, Jordan Pender moved back to New Brunswick, Miramichi. So here is Paul Fleming, third rock this year for the Murphy team out of the Halifax Current Club.
Paul knows this team so well, even though he hadn't played with them before. Of course, Jordan, who is now gone, but he and Jamie played together, I don't even know how many years. I think they came up through the junior ranks together.
Yeah, they're both originally from New Brunswick. Murphy now, of course, has settled here in Nova Scotia, and Pender moved back. And from the last I seen on his Twitter account, doing some photography up there. So maybe tune in and watch his own team. We'll say hello to him from here, Dartmouth, to Miramichi, New Brunswick. Burgess going hard, trying to keep the line on this, and they will get a roll. Back four. So we have a quiet end here in end number one, and as my broadcast colleague mentioned, that's what we're to expect here. The Tankard final up for grabs.
So Jamie just wants to hit this on the nose, of course. He doesn't need to try and make any kind of roll behind the back. He wants to preserve the ability to blank. And Mark will be able to hit it. He's going to roll open. I think Mark's pretty satisfied with a blank as well. He doesn't need to try anything too crazy at this point. Seems they've both agreed that this is what they want.
Take a look at the entrepreneur there, Mark Dacey. Of course, the fire still burns in his heart here. Last year, he was a member of what looked to be like a sort of like an all-star team. They pretty well, 3 of the 4 members were skips, and Ian Fitzgerald-LeBon, Sean Adams, and Dacey and Gibson. Things didn't, of course, materialize, and of course, some work schedules, conflicts didn't really get them, of course, to do the amount that they'd like to do to concentrate on it. So Dacey says, well, I'm going to go and try once again here to go to the Briar, which he's had a lot of success for. The former Saskatchewan native with his first here in one. Here is the general manager of Odessa, Jamie Murphy. Of course, will in the third end, we'll get to know the Jamie Murphy foursome. In a little bit more detail.
So again, open hit. I don't think they'll be going too hard for the roll here. The line looks good, but they'll just be wanting to see the ice conditions as well. This is the first time both of these teams would have played as the only game out in the ice shed. And we noticed that there was actually a little bit more curl. There, he's going for a little bit of the roll here.
And they were screaming their hearts out, and it will come to a stop there in the 8-foot area behind the tee line.
Those are always tough. You want to go somewhat aggressively for your points. Try and make that roll behind the guards, but you also know that things have been tracking a little bit, and in the first end, you just make sure you hit the stone, and if you're really comfortable with the line, then you go for it, and that's what they did there.
Dacey getting ready to throw his last. Of course, Jamie Murphy, Yellowstones, has the final hammer here. Has the hammer here in end number one.
I suppose Mark might go for this little roll. Of course, same idea. Make sure you hit the shot zone. And if the line looks good and you can sweep it and get that little roll in behind, you might be good for the force.
Burgess on it already, now told to go off. You could hear Gibson.
It looked close all the way, but just comes up almost to nose. So we'll see Jamie throw the blank here. There's not a ton of room between the where he wants to throw this down the path around that yellow guard. But you throw enough weight and you hit it on the high side, shooter roll out on the right side of the sheet. Or the left. The left as we see it now.
Championship Sunday. Of course, the Women's Scotties final will be 2 o'clock this afternoon, Atlantic Standard Time. Marianne Arsenault taking on Krista McDermott. That should be a good one. Final stone for Murphy here in end number one.
Have to get it out in order to roll out.
Well, he'll nose it and be forced to take a single point here in one. Murphy on the board, 1-0. Dacey with the hammer in two, throwing the blue stones. So for Mark Dacey, did want to force Murphy to one. The game plan, you can put a check mark beside that, so he'll have the hammer in two. Of course, the road here to the final here for Mark Dacey out of the Mayflower Curling Club started off with a 7-6 win over Brent McDougall, then followed up with a win against Mike Fleming, and then had a loss against Kendall Thompson. Both of those teams were undefeated at that time, and then a loss to Jamie Murphy, so put him at 2-2. And then since then, he's put off 3 straight wins: Greg Power, Stuart Thompson, and Chad Stevens. So bit of a streaky team. Selena started off with 2 wins, then 2 losses, and now on another streak, 3 wins. So maybe he's trying to peak at the right time, but we'll have to wait and see. Still lots of curling left to go here from the Dartmouth Curling Club Sunday morning at the Deloitte Tankard.
Yeah, I don't think Mark Dacey's ever a team you can count out. They certainly will have their ups and downs, and even in their game against Murphy, it wasn't going their way from the start, and they didn't go the full length. But certainly in games like this, there's no give up. There was a championship final, the last one Mark was in. It happened to be against Murphy. It was 4 years ago, I think, 2014. And Mark was down early, played pretty aggressive, and got down, I think, 5-1 pretty early, and battled back, getting 2, forcing 1. It came down to last rock in the last end in that one. So they're not going to be a team to give up.
Yeah, you mentioned the round robin 7-1 Murphy over Dacey. Murphy scored 1 in the first, 1 in the second. Single points both in 3 and 4, and a 3-pointer in the 6th. And they shook hands after that. 7-1 the final. And Dacey hoping for maybe a little bit of revenge here this morning. Murphy hoping that the past becomes the present. That what happened in the round robin happens again today, a victory, but these teams do know each other. They've had a lot of success this season. Dacey's done very well. He was the winner of the Dave Jones back in October, around Halloween time. And of course, Jamie Murphy, he had a pretty good year as well. First place at the Jim Sullivan Curling Classic, defeating Wayne Talon 7-4.
So we saw the strategy for Team Murphy. They don't need to play it anything crazy. Just put one in the rings, guard it, and Mark typically will put up that corner guard, which he did there. But now asking Luke for the come around and the freeze onto that stone. But this one looks a little heavy. They don't really want to rub off, but that's what they'll end up with. So didn't do much other than leave their stone exposed and a chance to maybe get a little bit of a roll and get a second one buried. Those freezes are so difficult, and especially early in the game where the ice conditions are still changing. Teams did have the pre-game practice. They didn't have to throw the draw to the button. But it would have been throwing that path and maybe sped up a tiny bit since practice for Luke.
Kroll going hard, Fleming there as well, but he'll get in on the party now. They bump that blue stone out to lie 2 here in the early stages of end number 2.
So you can see there's a really makeable double there. And it's interesting that the stone that will be hit first is the open one on the left. But the shooter should be able to bounce up and maybe get a piece buried under the guard. Mark's just trying to make it hard for Jamie to hit all his stones out of the rings and clear the guards. With Mark having a hammer, only down 1, he's probably going to go fairly hard for his 2 here.
Big weight here by Burgess. Gives it scrubbing hard. 1, 2, there they go. Nice shot.
So he hit that a little too thin. Andrew was sweeping for line. If he'd hit that thicker, we'd have got a little bit of action up toward the guard, kind of where Jamie's indicating there now. Can't fault him, made the shot. But you saw the shooter kind of squirt towards the button.
And it's, of course, easily open and accessible here for Scott Zachary. You hear them are going now. Easily through a pretty big port, and they'll punch it out.
Yeah, it didn't actually curl as much as they wanted, Dan. They wanted to get the flop under, and as soon as it was going straight, then they made the call to go behind the corner guard. You're basically if you're trying to force Mark to a single here, you want to have a stone in the rings that he can't remove and not a chance to sit 2. But that one rolling a little too far, Mark's going to take advantage and say, all right, I'll get Steve to come around this corner guard and try and sit 1.
Gibson and Dacey, they've been playing together for quite a while, but of course the new addition, Saunders, is one, and here's the other one, Steven Burgess.
Yeah, well, Steve, longtime player with this rink, and actually the Dacey team wasn't in provincials last year. They didn't qualify. Just getting lucky on that little sweep there, and I think it stays for shot. It's confirmed by Skipper Murphy. So, yeah, the Dacey team, they played with 3 most of the year. Steve came in for tournaments but hadn't been around here practicing. But to put the provincial team together, they decided that's their best shot. It's worked out so well so far. So Paul Fleming here can't really remove that blue stone. He'll have to draw down to it. It's the only thing about it being behind the tee line. A little heavy from Steve, but the good call to get it around that yellow stone. Calling top 4 weight, which should be able to be swept. The longer they leave it, the less time they have to sweep it, though.
Yep, says Mr. Fleming. When it comes to a stop in the front 8.
That's tough. They really wanted to have that. Sweepers were right. They said top 4, and that's, you can see that's the line. Would have just bitten the top 4 there. They just weren't able to drag it at all, but leaves it a bit open. And there is a double on those yellows, and then the blue shooter should be able to remain in the rings. Maybe the first yellow, it'll run into the second and might not squirt out. But I give Andrew Gibson here a pretty good chance at getting action on both those yellows. You can see what Andrew can see from the hack, which is be a thick half. This is down weight.
Nothing from Saunders and Burgess yet.
Need to get by the guard a little tighter than that to stick the shooter around.
Can't stick the shooter, and y'all will come to a stop. It is a shot rock now as we into third stones here and into.
So this is the chance to really put the pressure on for the force. I think Andrew probably threw that pretty well. Wasn't panic, sweep, or immediate woe out of mark, so probably just needed a bit less ice there. But now a second chance for Paul to come around one of the guards out front, sit 2.
They went hard on that one, and there they will get the result they were looking for, lying 2 here.
Absolutely, sitting 2. So for Mark, the scoring area is really getting shut down. Andrew can probably see a good chunk of that yellow stone, and there is some nice movement from the outside in. So with a down weight, the only thing with Paul's there was sweepers had to go on it for weight, and it held it a little bit straight. So Andrew will have a pretty good chance here to actually come down to this stone. Doesn't have to play it with a ton of weight. It's just being used as backing. They have to be careful. You want to catch it before it starts to curl a lot, but if you don't get it soon enough, it'll wreck on the guard. But this one is hanging wide.
Burgess now going hard.
And it'll punch that yellow back, so it's helpful in the sense that the yellow's not blocking the path to the 4-foot. It's behind it. But now with that stone hanging wide, and again, that wasn't a ton of weight from Andrew, just back house weight. Didn't even remove the yellow stone. The shooter ends up staying out, and it's definitely available for Jamie to hit. But we've been watching this path in the ice all week. This is definitely one where if you throw it wide, you're not going to get your rock to come back.
As you folks saw, pretty good crowd on hand. Seeing the downstairs shot, they're pretty good and crowded up here. Knowing our championship is up for grabs. Murphy here in 2.
They don't want this to roll behind the tee line. It just goes a little too far. Maybe gives Mark a chance to see, he wants to hit that back stone. Just pushes it back where it was. I don't know if based on where the guards are, Mark can actually draw down to that. You see it's you have to clear on either side those blue and yellow guards. So it's probably going to play something with weight here. But you roll, either way you're rolling you're going to be behind the tee line. I wouldn't mind just a really gentle little flop over to the right of the screen in front. And we're looking at just a little tap to the back 8 foot, I think, here. And use this phrase a lot, creating a wall so that the blue stone that Mark's throwing can't be removed.
Having to call some of the women's action, Selena. It seems like sometimes the hammer's not the player's best friend. I know it's a chance to score, but just the forces, it's just been fantastic here at the championships.
Yeah, it depends on what you can get going, and it's early on as well. If you don't bail early enough with hammer, you probably are going to get forced if the situation's not setting up nicely. But Mark will do his best here to put this in a good position so that Jamie can't remove it, of course.
Facing 3, it's the first of 2 from Mark Dacey out of the Mayflower Curling Club as we are in end number 2. Now they're going hard, Burgess and Saunders. Bump it and we'll sit on the button there.
So that one over curled, and I didn't hear the audible from the sweepers over what the weight was, but I think it just over curled because it was really just, well, back 4, back 8 kind of weight, and I think he was trying to throw a little bit more than that.
Heard the broom slam. Mike's down there from Burgess. And you see that, of course, with a championship up for grab, the constant housekeeping here done by both teams, trying to keep the path clean and make sure that there is no possibility of picks, because a berth to go to the Briar, of course the Briar being in Regina, Saskatchewan this year, is what they're playing for, to wear the Nova Scotia colors.
Yeah, if you didn't know, the Briar's March 3rd to 11th. It's in Regina, like you said. It's at the Brandt Center. And it's the debut for the newer format that includes Team Canada, all provinces, territories, including Northern Ontario, and then one of 2 wildcard picks. So that's the part I'm the most curious about, is how that's going to work.
Just had a chance to glance the website last night. Brad Gushu and Dave St. Louis out of Nunavut, the only team so far to qualify. Of course, a lot of the provincial playdowns are wrapping up today, so
absolutely,
it's a busy day. So
and
you
Brad
might as well
Gushu, he qualified last year at the Briar by winning it, so it'll be Team Canada.
Yeah.
The only way he was out of this Briar was if he was going to go to the Olympics.
Well, the interesting story, Michelle Inlaw is going for the Scotties, as she was the runner-up last year, because Holman's team is going to the Olympics.
So Jamie just looking for a soft weight, little tap freeze on the shot stone, I believe. It's risky to try and play a hit if you don't get it out and give up 2. So this is to try and defend against the 2. That's a pretty good result there. Not quite sure how Mark's going to remove that yellow and use the shooter to count. So I think he probably has. And even if he taps that yellow back, is it even for 1? It's a good shot from Jamie. You can see the shooter, if that yellow is hit straight back, the shooter might not outcount the yellow as it jams. I think it's pretty good, Paul.
Yeah, we're hearing just a little bit of the conversation. Of course, with one game going on, for once in a while, we're going to eavesdrop on conversations and let the players tell the story here on Championship Sunday.
I'd say that Mark can probably get shot if he hits that yellow with enough weight. The big risk there is if you ever hit it wide, you nut it into your own, and the blue goes out of the rings, you could give up a huge batch of points here. So I don't think they play this with a ton of weight, if that is the call. then you might give up a steal. That's the risk. This is interesting. Not many people will play the shot. He's going to try and hit. That's tough because the right hand, or sorry, the left hand side there, yellow is actually behind. So you see the 3 yellows, the 2 in the back, right on either side of Andrew's broom. Mark's going to try and hit the outermost one. That's the right side of your screen now. Bounce into the left hand side one, which should be redirected back onto the other yellow. Hopefully not his own blue. And then squirt up and try and chip that shot stone out of the 4-foot. So watch, let's see if he can do it.
Final stone for Mark Dacey of the Mayflower Curling Club.
It's pretty darn close. Had to hit that a little bit thinner. I don't know if the shot would actually have been there, but only a steal of 1. And a really nice end from both teams with some ups and downs, but some good shots.
Jamie Murphy with a single point, a steal of 1, 2-0. Jamie Murphy over Mark Dacey as we go to end number 3. Dacey will retain the hammer. And jumping into the hack right away is Phil Kroll, 39-year-old, senior system analyst and 2016-2017 Nova Scotia men's champ with this Murphy foursome. He was also a men's champ back in 2010.
That was with Ian Fitzner-LeBlanc, who Ian doesn't live here anymore. He's in Ontario.
Was second for Dacey last year. Back in Ontario, as you say.
Yeah, he was the out-of-province player. You are allowed 1.
As you see, that one will come into the rings. And will be ignored here by Dacey. Murphy with a single point with hammer 1 and a steal of 1 and 2. 2-0 is where we stand, and he'll just put up a guard, ignore that stone just thrown by Kroll. And a little last brushing there by Dacey as it comes to a rest. Of course, it's not sound like a broken record, but as everybody who's familiar with the sport of curling knows, there's a 4-rock free guard zone for those who may be tuning in for the first time ever watching. Can't remove the first 4 stones outside of the rings.
You can remove your own.
You can do that, or you can just bump it. You just can't remove it, so.
Yeah, you just can't remove your opponents. You can chip them around. You'll see that sometimes, like a lead will put up a stone that they're not happy with and peel their own out. Seen it a few times this week. It's like the peel of shame, we kind of call it. If your shot wasn't quite good enough, you have to get rid of it. So more of the same here. Very similar setup to last end where we did see the stone thrown in the rings from the Murphy rink and the corner guard from Team Dacey, center guard, and now the freeze. Remember, Luke was a little light in the last end. This one looks like it's over curling.
And that yellow one's coming into play, and he is all over it, as you see. And will split the center line, go in behind that blue one.
Doesn't actually work out that bad. It's rolled for a second corner and got the center out of the way. They'll still have to deal with that stone in the top 4 foot. We'll just have to watch the line there too. If you've been watching all week, you know that on our feature sheets, and in particular sheet C, there is some strong movement across that line. It came into play in the semifinal last night, of course. A couple stones just looked like they grabbed. It happened to be, unfortunately, last rock stones from the Stuart Thompson rink and over curled, and so ended up in some big point ends. I think both teams kind of agreed, there must be something there, as it looked like Stuart threw them fine. So we'll just watch that path in the ice today. We just saw that one of Luke's over curl.
Here's a throw here from Scott Zachary, a 32-year-old estimator with Lindsay Construction, and a two-time Nova Scotia champ with Murphy, 2016, 2017, and a 2002 Nova Scotia junior champion for his brother Kevin.
And I was just going to say, I hadn't seen Kevin here, and I look out on the ice in the ice shed, and he's the first person I see. He wouldn't miss his little brother's game here.
Gibson going hard. You can hear the encouragement there from Dacey. A lot of rocks moving around there.
Some really interesting plays. Mark's okay with chipping on the guard out front, but you don't want to have too much clutter. So he's got to leave himself a shot, and you can see already there's a few stones out front. There's the 3 blues on the left. The 2 of them close to the rings, the 2 closer to the center line are probably the most impactful.
Fleming Kroll on this throw here from Scott Zachary as we're at the midway point here of in number 3. Second stones.
Little collision there. Paul's brought onto this team this year, and he wouldn't brag about his sweeping, so you just see Phil sweeping to keep it straight, and then instead of when they wanted it to curl, Phil just switched sides instead of getting Paul to sweep. And Paul went over and tried to sweep on the other side, but Phil just flipped over and said, no, it's okay, I got this. And they'll just have to decide how they want to do that.
Well, they're figuring it out there, just off camera.
It is important, like it's a missed sweep or sweeping on the wrong side. We know that it does impact the rocks, not as much as it did, of course, a few years ago. You see the broom heads there are much less effective than some of the materials that we did have before.
They're there on the corner of the right of your screen. Left, pardon me. Stephen Burgess. Nothing from Gibson and Saunders.
There is some nice movement. So once he's by this guard, they want to make contact with that yellow stone and leave that blue shooter right in behind the guards. And those are, that's covered, that blue stone. The yellow's out in the open.
They had to wait a long time, but it had a nice finish to it, and as you said, right in behind it.
It's a beautiful shot. We saw some of those last night in the semifinal. This team was making a lot of great shots. And I was actually saying, because once they were up in points, Steve wasn't missing any of his peels, run backs, anything like that. But he does have a good touch game, so a good all-round player.
Here's the 49-year-old business owner of Harbor Fish and Chips, Paul Fleming. He says he is seniors eligible next year.
He's pretty good too, isn't he?
Pretty good person, of course, to talk to, but really friendly with us, and pretty good curler, as we just seen.
Yeah, if you want to talk about another solid thrower, Paul adds to any team he joins, really.
And the old school backswing, of course. A 6-time Brier participant and loves baseball, shuffleboard, ping pong.
I think
Nintendo.
he just listed off what he did the night before when he was telling me all this stuff. Yeah. He goes, I really like Christmas decorations.
Well, that's scary because so does Jamie Murphy. That's probably what they have in common.
Oh, that must have been Jamie that said that. Sorry.
Well.
They both have a good sense of humor.
Yeah, Paul's a little bit of a pepper pot. Like here's some of the fans, of course, very quiet, moving around this morning. Sunday morning, sleepiness, and he's like fresh as daisies and a pepper pot before this one started here this morning.
So this is where Jamie threw his peel attempt, or what I assumed was a peel attempt, and hit the nose. So should know this path here. Still prefers the out turn, the straighter turn. just have to wait for it so that it doesn't wreck on the front yellow, and that will be by.
Bang, and set shot rock here, late stages of N3.
So Mark's going to ignore it. It's a really good chance. He's down 2. It's a really good chance to sit buried behind a staggered pair of guards. Jamie couldn't have ignored that blue stone. He had to hit it. It's open. But there was always a chance that Mark would go behind this guard. Of course, you got to make it or else you're probably going to get forced. But you have to try and get 2 points. Waiting for the line, but if it's heavy, it's not going to finish until further into the rings. So he slips just, I mean, that's 2 feet. But the 2 feet lighter would have curled a bit more and then sat buried. So close to a great shot, and they're going to end up a little frustrated with that.
Murphy going over onto the other sheet to get a good look at it. You saw the broom there of Murphy and Fleming just a couple seconds ago. Left of your screen.
Looking at the angles, I don't know which. Suppose he's looking to see. So there's that side blue on the left-hand side. So when Jamie plays the freeze or little tap, but there are a couple options. So the freeze is great, but you end up leaving the blue stone in play. If you tap it back, it's a harder shot, but it removes the blue from a potential counter. And Jamie's just looking over at the in-off on the left-hand side to say, well, if I freeze this stone right on the lid and Mark is forced to play that in-off, can he actually get 2? It's pretty flat, but I think it's there.
Skip rocks here in end number 3. Jamie Murphy out of the Halifax Curling Club.
They're going for weight on this one.
Says lots of room, says Mr. Fleming.
Lots of room, so they'll switch the sweepers. Look at Scott on the inside, trying to carve it, trying to encourage the curl. And they just don't get shot.
A few extra scrubs by Zachary, and as you mentioned, a little short.
But it's in front, so it was definitely played the smart way. It's in front of the tee line. So if Mark doesn't do something good here, that's a little tap, an easy tap. And even if it's not tapped up, it's still a good chance to force. Right now, Mark, to get 2 points, has to put something on the button. So they're looking at these side ones. That's a flat hit from the side one. You need to roll into the center. He's probably trying to save the in-off. He could guard, but I think Jamie would try the flat double off his own yellow on the side.
Another sort of long conversation here.
Yeah, what I think is he might be trying to play the double on the 2 yellows and chip this really thin. Might clip the blue, but punches it to the back. Could sit 2 here. He might even be playing this fairly soft and thin half. Should go into the side blue, or sorry, the side yellow. Might be colorblind here. Those are very different colors. They even match their, or at least the Murphy team matches the jerseys. You think I'd remember what color each team is. So this is Dacey's first. Trying to set himself up. Maybe sit 2 here.
Nothing Saunders Burgess yet.
They're waiting on this one. Needs to get it a little thicker to stick the shooter around. They will punch the other Yellowstone out the side. So you see that shot was there. Didn't have any problem going over the blue, but had to hit that just a little bit thicker.
We mentioned earlier that he's the general manager of Odessa as Jamie Murphy makes his way up, the 36-year-old, and has been curling since the age of 14, 22 years. 4-time Nova Scotia provincial champion and Brier participant back in 12, 14, 16, 17, and a 2-time New Brunswick provincial junior champion. It says he likes country music, so hasn't seen him wear a cowboy hat yet, but of course that's. I think he's knows that he's a very good-looking guy. Doesn't need to wear a hat, so.
I don't know. He wears sunglasses a lot. I know he has golfs in the summer. Jamie always comes into curling and has a really nice tan, and then loses it over the curling season. So they're trying to make this one better.
And they will be just a little bit better. They put it right on the lid of that blue one.
Yeah, I think blue might still be shot, though. The line was better on the last one. It was a little lighter. Maybe it's not as close as I think, or as far as I think. The in-off off the side blue there that you see it's a steep angle. So if Mark is forced to play something like that, you're going to lose the back blue. It's not as flat. You can't kick the yellow out sideways. And it is frozen to that blue stone. So you can't move the yellow without the blue. At least I don't think so.
I concur. Of course, they've had successful season and knowledgeable of the sport. Of course, family involved in the sport, as you know, Kendall and Stuart, brothers of Selena.
Yeah, it was a rough day for our family yesterday. One of them had to put the other one out, and then eventually lost in the semi.
Well, that's what I said. I said I was going to make for an awkward Sunday. Maybe if you guys have Sunday dinners, it would make for an awkward day, but
no, never will.
No, we joke about it, of course, because the thing is with curlers, Gabe's done, boom, it's over, done.
Yeah, it's really hard. It was. It's just hard to lose when you go that far. This is what you play for, and you are out, and one of these two teams is going to be thoroughly disappointed, and the other one's going to be ecstatic. And you don't play to lose, so you really want to celebrate when you do a good job, and you are disappointed. You don't make it this far just to not try. So Mark, I guess they think it might be actually the Murphy stone that's shot. So I think Mark is just playing the little chip in off the yellow to get right to the button.
Final stone for Mark Dacey out of the Mayflower Curling Club.
This one's curling. I bet Mark just threw this a little soft compared to some of the others. Now they got to get it there.
They're going hard, as you could hear.
So I think they got shot, but it actually only chipped their blue stone back and perhaps made the yellow for sure second stone. So it looks like one to me.
Gibson points at it, says one.
And they may stick. They just bumped that yellow into the blue. They were dead frozen. So we'll see when the score gets posted, but looked like it might only be a single for Dacey. Murphy will have hammer here in the fourth end.
So they put the single point for Dacey there. So as Selena said, Murphy has a hammer here, one, throwing the yellow stones, 2-1 as we play the fourth. As we take a look at Luke Saunders, a 25-year-old ice maker at the Mayflower Curling Club, Nova Scotia Junior 2013 champ, third at the Nationals with Stuart Thompson, and of course, famous curling family, Scott Saunders and Colleen Jones, Canadian and World Women's champ. And came here, of course, as one of the 8 teams to participate at the Scotties, and she's going to be going off the seniors, and Colleen, of course, will be going to do some Olympic coverage. So couldn't get it any tighter there in that third in, as they had a lot of in play, and of course 2 really close ones. So
yeah, and a beautiful last shot from Mark. Just unfortunate that it didn't, or that it chipped their potential second point out. I think they may, even if they were shot, that was the shot for the 2 points, and just couldn't really touch that top one. Sprung a little bit, but anyway, that's all right. No skin off Mark's back. He gets Luke to put up the center guard. And here we see Phil Kroll. He'll try and make I think they called the come around.
He'll say, gotta go, and there they go, Fleming, Sacre.
Need this to be in, and
said get it in, but it will come up shy.
They had to wait for the line a little bit there, but what that does is ends up making a second center guard. It's in what we call the control zone, which is the area between the lines in front of the rings. Those are easily promotable stones, but anytime you're moving more than one hunk of granite, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So Mark's just going to ask Luke, instead of putting up a second center guard, hey, we'll use theirs. Let's come around.
Dacey will jump out, relieve Burgess, and now Gibson relieve the sweeping duties for the meantime, as it will come into the top 12.
Yeah, after all was said and done there on the sweep, if it was that light, only a couple feet, but Mark would almost wanted that to stay not in the rings. He saw him sweeping it and then realized, oh shoot, I don't actually want this in if it's not going to be full 12. But it is in. It's hittable. I just think it's a little easier to access later, but you have an opportunity to get at it now. Murphy does have hammer, and they're up 1, so they can play a little defensive. If I when the team is up with hammer, you just play it really easy, nice and clean, and you take those easy chances for 2. You don't go crazy for your 2. You have the advantage. You just, if you happen to stick around, although I don't know if they're going to hit any piece of that blue with the stone.
Just a little bit of it, and push it under cover. That yellow
Just
one.
have to be so careful with the way these stones are moving this week. Anything wide or too much of a pop release won't come back. Both skips, and mostly because I'm watching them a little more than the rest of the players, but they've adjusted their release, and I think that's probably something that Murphy's team did early on. And Mark would have picked up on as well, and I suspect Mark does something on every throw, but the releases maybe thrown just a little bit less rotation, and that will give you a bit more curl and finish. The speed has been great all week. It's been beautiful ice for throwing draws and soft weight hits.
Stephen Burgess here at in number 4. Nothing from Saunders, nothing from Gibson. All by itself.
So they wait for it, and they know it's going to be deep, so they take it further and further and further and try and get it buried. And this is really to shut down the scoring area. But Jamie's not happy with the situation. He's saying, all right, not happy with how lead rocks went. Let's play the double peel. Might even be able to run this Yellowstone back into the rings.
Out of the hack and on its way here. Scott Sachary's throw. Big weight.
That one's over the top. They'd love to clip that yellow, just free things up, give shots at that 4 foot, those blue stones.
Pretty well change the yellow stones, one for another.
Yeah. And in this case, the yellow-blue combination is so good that you actually have to guard the non-shot stone. The shot is the one that Steve lasts through. It's at the back. But you just throw a high guard on this and cover a piece. Trying to put it back right where it was. It was in a good spot.
Well,
Has to get it over.
It just does.
Well, he did ask for it to be just over. So, to be fair, that was perfect.
They had to go a little bit harder to get it there, but they did.
That's how you make those shots. The sweeper doesn't always throw it over. Sweeper throws it a foot short or 2 feet short, or maybe in that case more than that. But it didn't cover the, they wanted to cover a little piece of that yellow stone and not leave this shot, because Jamie's going to ask Scott to go for it. And this should leave 2 yellows in the rings, even if it doesn't clear both blues. They wanted to curl to keep the shooter, but it does curl across the line.
Bang, bang. Piece of the blue. Murphy will try to get back there to get it out the rest of the way. It will stay around the back 12.
Yeah, and I was mistaken there. I thought that the stone, that you could roll the shooter onto the rings, but it will stay out front. Yellow might be shot here. Just. If yellow's shot, this is pretty aggressive. The benefit for Mark is those yellows are not lined up to go back onto a stone in the top 4 foot. So if Andrew can put a good one in here, they'll have a really good chance to force or even steal. They like the weight. Now they're going to go to get it as deep in and as buried as possible.
The 38-year-old mortgage advisor with BMO. Curled, basically he has question marks, so he's not revealing how many years he's curled, but boy, he's got a fantastic resume. Brier 2004 champion, bronze at the Worlds, and 2010 Canadian mixed champion. Just a couple of some of the highlights of his career. That's the third there for Dacey here out of the Mayflower Curling Club.
They couldn't see any piece of that stone that Andrew threw. It was a nice, nice shot. So now he'll guard it.
For Stephen Burgess is an owner-operator of a hardware store, junior New Brunswick champion. He's one to the left of your screen. See Gibson here of his last shot here in number 4 as we're in the third stones. Deloitte Tankard up for grabs. Going hard already. Not as much nerve-wracking as one of the previous ones where they just got. This one is over in the world of curling terms by plenty.
Yeah, they knew it. They actually knew it was over while they were sweeping it on the hog line. Those are high guards are hard to throw. You see them hogged so often, even on fast ice, because you just try and make them not over by a hair. So here comes the peel. They're playing this the other way. They played that on the last one, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be. So guard again. This is going to be the routine for Mark is guard this nice shot. Jamie's going to have a draw to the 4-foot. If all goes according to plan. I don't think we'll see Mark bring a second one into the house if the peel's made after this.
There is the 51-year-old entrepreneur, franchise owner, Mark Dacey. Brier 2004 champion, bronze at the World, 6 Brier appearances, 95, 2001, 2003, 4, 6, and 9.
And that was, the women had Team Canada. So when you won, like it was easy, like when you won the Scotties nationally, you'd return as Team Canada. We have that now for the men, but Mark was winning provincials every year those years.
Third time not successful this time as they hogged that one. And as you talked about, it's tough.
Yeah, you have to put it a high guard. You don't want it too deep and leave a run. But you have to get it over too. Halfway is better than where it is now, which is out of play. Jamie just saying to Paul, there's no movement and he needs less to make this hit. So hard you make that high guard on second and third shots twice, and then skipper throws it and just comes up a tiny bit light. So good communication there with the sweepers. The weight was a little down, so they knew it would actually get the curl. And roll to a spot where if Mark's going to go for this roll, he's going to have to make the roll perfect. Because if it's not perfect, the Yellowstone is jamming on the back blue. I guess he could roll this in front of his own and sit shot, and Jamie would have to play a hit and roll for 2, and so it's either way. It's there's not a great option here for Mark. If you play the hit with, if they think that yellow is 1 and 2, so the yellow at the top is out counting the blue at the back, you can play this with weight and try and make the roll that way. But it's just this is just a spot where it really has been tracking. So I think that is what Mark's going to do, is play it with weight. The blue's not out-counted anyway, so you can actually just, if you play more weight, you can hit this rock thicker, roll further, and the jam at the back won't be as critical because you'll lose both stones. They'll go out of the rings. So this is his last in the 4th end, down 1. Doesn't have hammer here, trying to sit 1.
Burgess.
You don't like hearing the person in the house, whoa, like Andrew did there. It's probably a little wide. And it will jam, and they go for the roll, but did they get a piece under? So he didn't play it with the up weight. What I was saying was they knew it would jam, but you go for the roll knowing that if it does jam, at least you're buried. And got a half under. You didn't want to roll so far that Jamie can just run his yellow, but Jamie can pick this for a single, and I think he'll probably try and stick around though. He just threw this.
Passes his third for a little less ice.
And Jamie's a player that really does. In these provincial finals, he is just dialed in. He makes some huge last rock shots.
That's what we're at right now. Final stone for Jamie Murphy out of the Halifax Curling Club.
That was for 3 points.
Punches it out for 3. And you hear the frustration from Dacey as we heard a broom slam there. Closing stages here of end number 4. So 5-1 as we head to the 5th. Dacey will have Hammer throwing the Blue Stones.
We will have a break after the 5th end as well. It's same as in the round robin, 10 ends of regulation play. If there is a tie after 10, it goes to an extra end. There's a break at the 5th end, and if there's an extra, there'd be a break after the game as well. So that opened things up a little bit. Murphy did have the advantage being up 1 with Hammer, and with that big score of 3s, up 4, it's going to start playing things a little clean here. But it is early in the game, so you play cautiously clean. You don't want to get yourself in any kind of trouble when you do get the hammer back. So they're going to try and force here, get the hammer back, and take again the easy 2 or easy multiple point score.
Murphy relieves Fleming. A stop in between the Deloitte logo and the hog line.
So Marks, this is interesting. Sometimes you'll see with that rock coming up light, sometimes you'll see the team with Hammer corner guard and then coming around it later. But here's a case where Mark's saying, well, you guys messed up and threw a guard. I'm going to guard it, and then you can't remove your own stone. You got to get this one over the line too, though.
And they just do it.
It's there.
Yeah.
So the double guard. So Phil can't peel his own stone out now. I guess you could see a sliver of it. But a good chance to get one in here. First, going to be asking Luke to go around that situation. So Phil's going to try and do it first. And there is some really good movement. We watched the semifinal for the men on this sheet last night, and the tiebreaker for the women between Breen and Brothers. And there was some really good movement. Spot, the in-turn for the right-hand thrower.
Zachary on it. Now Fleming. Coming around here in the early stages of the 5th end. Murphy leading Dacey 5-1. And about half buried, as you see there from the shot.
So Luke can get at that stone. Again, you're hearing a lot. We're saying it's soft weight, soft weight. This is another one of those. Just gentle little freeze, maybe tap. Mark gave not a lot of ice for Luke on this. I think Luke might be throwing the side. I haven't been watching too closely. Come
around and
so that one comes. It's a nice shot. It's going to be hard to get rid of that blue without chipping the yellow. So even though Murphy doesn't have hammer and center guards typically are what's played by the team with hammer, he just wants to open things up and start blasting.
And he has the ability to blast. Scott Zachary not afraid to throw the big weight here. It's on its way.
Yeah, they don't need any run backs or any jam potentials. They don't really want to promote blue just yet. Mark knows the guards aren't going to be there forever. He still has one protecting, so he'd like to get 2 blues in the rings fairly far apart. Call here. Problem with throwing guards all end is if you miss one, like Mark did in the last end, you're kind of out of luck on other options. Now this one, they want to roll the shooter away. Make contact with the yellow. And actually might get it all the way out of the rings. They do. So there is a blue double that's left, though. But this is causing Jamie to ignore that guard for the time being. Tough thing for Team Dacey is they're down 4. If you get 2 here, then you got to force, and then you got to get 2. It's going to take a few ends to climb back.
Trying to hold it here as Crowell does, but they'll nose it. Actually get a little up that blue and go in under cover. Zachary of a humdinger of a shot here in 5.
Didn't make the double, but ended up with a good shot. If anything is run back into that yellow-blue, that blue will leave, so Murphy's okay with that. But Mark's quick to recognize. Some of you may recognize this is the same type of shot for his Brier win. Staggered stones in the rings and asking, what are we on? We're on Steve Jones here. Asking Steve to make the come around. I think there was a bit more curl in that final. Mark was coming around stones that were almost in the top 4 foot.
Luke Saunders going hard here. Late stages as rock comes to a halt there in the back 8.
So that won't get buried, but it is in a good spot at the back of the rings. It's not so high that Jamie can hit and roll and stay. You have to hit this blue pretty thick to get the double. If not, it shoots it across the top and you're still blasting. We'll see if Paul can have a good go at this, though. He's usually pretty close. Doesn't miss a lot.
From the big man himself, Paul Fleming. 1, 2, but he just noses it.
Actually hit that so thick that it nutted on the back. Really unfortunate.
Stage one blue stove of another as they have it there in the back 4, as you see.
So the blue stone is shot. It's a little more buried than it was. Another chance to come around. There's not a lot of protection here. This stone has to be in the front of the rings. And even if they're overlapping the yellow, it's not so bad. So just a little piece tucked. You want to get buried a little bit under the guard or under that top 12-foot stone.
Going hard here, Saunders and Burgess.
That one actually comes short of the rings, just thrown a little light. It does effectively guard guards the blue. So a chance for Paul to make a come around here, and again, this is talking about shutting down the scoring area. He could freeze to that back blue. Doesn't want to rub off. A light stone, if it's exposed, it can be used. But if it's heavy, it's not going to help.
Threw big weight on his last shot. This one takes a little bit off of it, as you see, relying on the sweepers here of Crone Zachary, Paul Fleming, the Halifax Curling Club.
How does this one look, Dan? Looks pretty good to me.
Oh, dandy.
What a shot. He's making you pay if you're if you're missing. This Murphy back really turning up the heat here.
Well, they have more decision time again.
So it's Andrew's last shot. Mark saying, oh, that stone that you just threw is hurting us now.
Gibson makes his way down.
There is a yellow-blue play, even if you cross and nutted into the yellow that's on the 12-foot. I don't think that would be the end of the world. You'd at least give yourself the chance to score it. Dacey down 4.
Speed's different today, eh?
They don't want to give up any more points.
Yeah, they're already in deep. We're getting close to that 5th in break, and they're down by 4. They don't, as you said, don't want to really give Murphy any more here. Murphy has thoroughly controlled the play here for this first half. A lot of thinking time being used up here by the Dacey foursome out of the Bayflower Curling Club as Gibson's throw is on its way.
So they're playing into the 4-foot here. Did not to go for the top, but they have to play this so tight to the guard. It's curling now.
Yeah, they're going to touch their blue one and push towards the
There
side.
is such good movement there, but you have to catch the sweep early enough, and it was just a tiny bit too late. Paul's one they threw a bit, didn't have to get by the guard by so much, which is why there was a shot there, but that was a very tough shot. I think Murphy's going to play the double on these blues and sit 3. He says, I'll give you 1, Mark. If Mark could get to the inside of that yellow stone, he could punch it out for a potential 3. So that's the reason that this is the call here. These blues won't be left if Jamie Murphy has anything to say about it.
Skip rocks in number 5. Jamie Murphy out of the Halifax Curling Club.
So let's just nose. Is there a real thick way to hit that and punch the shot yellow out the side? I think so. Even less ice here on this shot. If anyone's going to know if it's possible, it's this guy. Coming down to throw his first to skip stones here. So here in N5, Mark Dacey on his first, trying to make a, he's making the double. He's just making the thin punch back. I'm just crazy.
And now Burgess, Saunders,
This
going
one is
hard.
curling like crazy. They got to get it by the top.
That blue one's coming up on them. They'll tap and go to the side.
So Mark is second shot at the back of the 4-foot. So he still has technically, especially if he's opened it up even more, a shot for 2. So Jamie has to be a bit careful. He can run his own back onto that blue. It's a short little run back into the 4-foot. The question is, do you leave any kind of triple for the 2 points? Because right now there isn't really a shot for 3 that I can see. So if you leave yourself shot, or if you don't do anything, or if you guard, is there a shot for 3? I don't think so. But the shot's for 2, that's for sure. So you want to do something.
curl will be coming into your screen as they're going to have a good team meeting here. Late stages here of end number 5.
Yeah, and these guys have a little bit of time. There's 38 minutes of thinking time. At the halfway mark, which we're coming to, you want to have 19 minutes. I'm looking at the clocks. Team Murphy, they have 21, so they should be fine. Mark's team, no surprise, you can see there in your screen, 16 minutes. He always runs it a little short, takes a lot of time, thinks about shots, and then tends to the pace when he needs to. 2 timeouts for each team as well. But I don't think Murphy's going to call one. They have enough time here. Sometimes you like to save those timeouts for later in the game. Really critical.
Murphy, who got a single point with hammer in end number 1, and he stole 1 and 2, and then had the hammer once again in 4 and got 3. Break this one open, 5-1. Dacey has a hammer here in end number 5. His final stone here in 5.
He's on the outside right now. They have to wait for this to curl. All right, and that just made the shot. Now I'm just looking to see, what do we have left here? Is there a shot for 2? Real thin on the blue. There's no easy shot for 2. We'll just leave it like that.
Yeah.
Really, really thin on that blue stone. You actually make a double stone blue into the yellow, but the blue will jam on the yellow that's on the left. But this is basically, I think, do or die here for Mark.
Wants to go into the 5th end break on a little bit of a high and carry that momentum into the 6th.
So he's going to have to hit this very thin. I suspect he's throwing the in-turn, so this is actually negative ice. We'll see when he goes to deliver, but there's a lot of movement to the wings. You'd want to hit it with the other turn if you want all this action with the thin hit. So it's a tough shot. Doesn't matter what turn you play, it's tough. So it's a double off his own blue, hoping to jam it into the side yellow. Last shot, 5th end. We'll have the 5th end.
The big back swing from Dacey. Final stone being worked on here by Luke Saunders.
And that one just curled. He was actually, I was saying he was playing it real thin. He was playing it the thick way with a different turn to try and actually run the blue off the yellow and into the button area. So it doesn't make it. It will be a steal of 1 for Jamie Murphy.
And now he'll go to the 5th end break. Jamie
Oh,
Murphy.
I'm sorry. It was a steal of a lot more than 1. Wasn't there a blue that stuck around? Was it actually 3? Sorry about that, folks. It was a big steal of 3.
Big steal 3, and all of a sudden that opens floodgates up. 8-1 as we head to the 5th end break, and it's a bit of a shocking first half, and a lot of work to be done here by Dacey as we head to the 5th end break. You're watching the Nova Scotia Deloitte Tankard final here on Bell 5 TV1. Back in 4 minutes with the second half of this one.
I'll take 80 today. Okay. Don't think we want to throw through first. My gripper. Ball, do you have his gripper?
Chris? I don't think so. Scotty? Anyone online?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if he
almost made a hell of a shot.
Oh, I know. Well, he did make the draw.
Well, yeah, but he didn't get a shot.
Yes, he did.
Never take a shot.
He got shot, but never
He did get shot.
Oh, we were shot before he threw? Well,
No, you guys, it was a measure.
Yeah.
Nobody knew who was shot.
Right.
Nobody was shot.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
It was
Not a single person could say we were shot wrong.
Right.
Okay.
Like it was an eyeball one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a hell of a-
We definitely were shot
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
But you had to.
They would have made the decision Grosser had Mark chipped ours on his driver. But
You had.
moved it sideways and it would have put us in a bad spot.
Yeah.
But because it never touched it, it was a measure that
Yeah.
the decision was.
But you had to be a little high in order to mark at the other side.
That's why I said freeze it high. I'm saying freeze it high all day. Gonna take a leap.
Yeah.
It was the closest measure. No definitions of that.
Up in the monitor up there, it looked like you got rock right there.
So I think it's us. He said, look at the back of the stone.
Oh, maybe we're both. Oh, no, this is definitely mine. Yeah, I don't have the double hole.
I thought Murphy took too much ice both of his shots.
Agreed.
Cleanest, that's mine.
So we,
No. No, it's second one through. Second one. The first one top four.
top four, second one.
It says we have to play 10 or at least 8.
Well, the book says.
Yeah, so then fuck everything.
Top four, good focus. Good focus.
We say good morning once again and welcome back to the Dartmouth Curling Club as we are back for the second half here of the Nova Scotia Men's Deloitte Tankard final between Jamie Murphy out of the Halifax Curling Club and Mark Dacey out of the Mayflower Curling Club. And just saw a couple of minutes ago a big steal of 3 to break this one wide open, busted wide open, whatever term you want to use, 8-1. As we head to the 6th in, and Dacey will have the hammer throwing the blue stones. My name's Dan Hobson, delighted to have Selena Thompson and our producer Sean Senator gladly here bringing you this. And shock, that's pretty well the word I think can be used to describe, because both these teams, of course, know each other and see the result right now. As I say, the word is shock, and things are really quite quiet here at the Dartmouth Curling Club after that then.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really unfortunate. I actually thought it was only a steal of 1. I just want to clarify to the viewers. The teams moved the rocks away, and I was trying to explain the shot and missed the fact that there were 2 Murphy counters just around the 8-foot/12-foot that were those extra 2 steel points. Mark was not far off on his shot and just far off enough to make it an unfortunate steal of 3. So Jamie Murphy in very solid control of this game. They'll be playing things ever so clean and just trying to, if there's no score in the remainder of this game, they are a happy bunch.
Very well, will remove its own stone, as you mentioned, keep things clean. So they had one that went deep, and then they just removed it there on Kroll's second throw. So, and of course, city time here for Dacey. Anything that he could put in play, more rocks, better chance to generate offense, and he needs it here in the 6th. Almost similar to the way they met there in the head-to-head here at the Tankard. 7-1 Murphy for Dacey, and they shook hands after 6 ends. Right now it is 8-1 as they play the 6th with the Tankard up for grabs.
It certainly is a frustrating position to play from for this Dacey team. They know there's pretty slim chance that they can make up that deficit with the Murphy team playing clean. But you got to try. So the come around there. And we'll see the peel here from Scott Zachary.
Kroll light brushing. They will move the Dacey stone, and the shooter goes out as well. Sometimes a team gets on a streak, Selena, and that's the case here for this Murphy team. They sort of started off the championships 2-1, and then they started winning against Dacey, Thompson, Stevens, and then had the loss against Stuart Thompson in the final draw on Friday night. So they went on a nice little winning streak. Winners 3 of their last 4, hoping to make it 4 of their last 5, and right now in the driver's seat, big time, 7-point lead.
Absolutely, and the only most recent loss was in that final round robin game versus Stuart Thompson. They were the top 2 teams coming in by CTRS points, so we knew it was a must win for Stuart, and a great game, and really coming down the back stretch it was broken open and went for the Thompson win. But Murphy was already guaranteed a spot in the final, so no skin off their backs. They just forced a couple teams into some extra games, but it was the top 2 teams from the round robin that.
Another final coming up, of course, in the women's Nova Scotia Scotties, 2 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time this afternoon. Marianne Arsenault of the Dartmouth Curling Club taking on the Halifax Curling Club's Kristen McDermott. And we'll have it for you. Of course, those teams sort of met in the first draw, opening day of the championships, and McDermott won that one. That was the only loss that Marianne Arsenault had, as she went on a roll of winning 6 straight, hoping to make it 7 straight. Have a win this afternoon and punch her ticket to the Scotties, which are in Penticton, British Columbia. Another hit and roll, as things are, as we can pretty well predict and see, that we're going to be in for finish the rest of the way. That's the plan here for this Murphy team out of the Halifax Curling Club. Of course, we've documented about how well they've done, and the men's side of things here, Dacey was hoping to take his team there, but to do that, he's going to have to find to do it. Got down 7-1 and lost in the head-to-head, as we mentioned. Both teams, of course, were past winners of the Dave Jones Curling Cash Spiel. Of course, Murphy won it in 2016, and Dacey won it just a couple months ago, here there in 2017. As the peeling pants are on here and in number 6, and lone blue stone, the only one in the house, as we're into third stones here in 6. Andrew Gibson.
Yeah, so I think Andrew will just guard this one, and they'll just keep on with this as long as a double isn't made. Have a shot for 2 at the end of the day. Murphy's here. He just wants to hammer back, control of the game.
Luke with slight cleaning there, and Luke Saunders. As Murphy will head up here. We're into Skip Rocks here at in number 6. Of course, if people are just tuning in, my name is Dan Hobson, alongside Selena Thompson. Murphy with a single point and 1, and stole a point and 2, made it 2-0, and then Dacey 2-1 after 3 with a single point with hammer, and then Murphy got 3 in the 4th with hammer, and then stole 3 in the 5th. 8-1 is where we stand.
You see the peel made there. So Mark's going to come in, sit 2. And the idea here is just to not leave a double. Jamie will hit one of them, try and leave his shooter. He'll probably go for some sort of a roll if there is no double. Leave his shooter in a place that makes it still hard to score the 2. There you see friends and family and curling fans there at the Dartmouth Curling Club. We've got 2 levels of glass, so it's in addition to the seating out on the ice, so it's pretty easy to see action going on. And of course, if you're you want to keep an eye on the women's final, you can come out and join us at the Dartmouth Curling Club. That's at 2 o'clock, and it's Marianne Arsenault, and she's taking on Kristen McDermott. Those are the top 2 teams throughout the round robin as well.
Yeah, it pretty well went the way that the draws, of course, came to a complete on Friday. The 2 top teams, as we're seeing here, of course, Dacey finished 2nd, Murphy 1st, and Murphy, as a result of that first place finish, punched a ticket into the final. So same for the women's, and as you said, we'll have it at 2 o'clock here on Bell 5 TV 1 on lock.
So we just saw Mark's rocks, kind of the story of his life today, I think. A really great draw for the one. Was trying to get 2 in the 3rd, and then that was the little bump on the 4-foot situation. It just comes up light on that draw, so Murphy is going to hit the open one, and Mark will have to blank this end.
Zachary light brushing.
Unless Jamie rolls out on this. So,
and he does.
So I think Mark will go for that split. You want to score your 2 points earlier. You don't want to blank and have one more end. So he'll play this split. Just hit the inside, the center line side of that stone. The shooter will chip in for the 2nd point, and the raised stone. Sean's getting artsy. We're going to view this in blur. So last stone, 6th end. This is Mark Dacey with a split for 2.
Luke Saunders, Stephen Burgess. Burgess trowling 2. They're going to try to bump and get the...
And that'll do it. Very nice shot. Makes up for the first one there. Got lucky on the rollout for Murphy and makes no mistake. So 2 points on the board. Totaling 3 for Dacey. Still down. 8-3. Murphy will have hammer here playing the 7th.
Of course, at this time, we're getting into the, of course, the late stages here of the championships, and there's so many people that the the Bell 5 TV1 people want to thank, of course, yourself, working hard, making sure to get everybody staffed for all these games. So we want to thank you, of course, and a team of people that have helped us on the broadcast. Of course, also the tournament committee, the people here at the Dartmouth Curling Club, and I couldn't think of a better way to, everything has just seemed to have gone, and boy, when it rains it pours here for this Dacey team as that one gets away.
Yeah, Luke just, I don't know if conditions are changing or just a little bit of loss of focus there. Luke did not throw enough weight on that stone.
So, of course, thank all the staff here at the Dartmouth Curling Club. Of course, our producers, Chuck Calder, Sean Senatral, and, of course, our executive 5, Chaba Demokis and Zirin Demokis for getting us all set up. And, of course, Nova Scotia Curling Association, Virginia Jackson. A lot of names, a lot of people, and, of course, we fantastic championships held here by Dartmouth, and, of course, they'll be back here next year for the provincials, both on the Scotties and the Deloitte Tankard. Things clean right here, so.
Murphy with hammer, they're not going to put stones in play early in the end. Phil threw his first one through the rings after the Hogs guard there. He'll keep this one in the back 12 foot. He's probably on air before. This is what I dubbed the insurance rock. This is if all else fails, at least this one we can count with. You just imagine if Jamie Murphy has to chip out a stone on the 4 foot and a shooter rolls out and score with this one, or it's a potential second point. They want this the back house. You don't want it to be too high. So there you see Phil throwing that nicely in the back 8, back 12 area. It's actually back 4 foot if it were in the center of the rings, but over on the side there, a hit and roll off that would be way behind the tee line and not a good result. So that's the reason for the positioning of that stone.
Stephen Burgess here in 7.
Mark's team's going to have to ignore Dacey stones. So if there's 4 ends remaining to play, and Dacey's down 5 points, so basically they need to steal a couple points and then continue to steal. So they're going to have to ignore all the Murphy stones in the rings.
Zachary peeling that blue guard here by Dacey is the plan, and it's executed.
Strategy is pretty simple when there's a large score differential. And the team that's down will just wait as long as they possibly can before bringing anything else into the rings.
Another guard be put up here by Burgess.
I think Steve too, just watching Luke's come up light on his first,
This
maybe
will
thinking that
go-
it's slow, so he doesn't want this one to go too deep.
And it will just touch the rings.
The closer that is to the shot stone, the easier it is to make the double. They're not even so worried about getting the stone that's shot off the or out of the rings. They just want to clear the front, lose the shooter, and even if you just one, it'll move it off the 4 foot area.
Big weight, Scott Zachary.
So Scott was a little wide on that. We're behind the sheet, watched him deliver, and he'll get it the other way though.
Yeah.
Actually goes under, so you can miss the broom, but as long as the skip picks up on the line call,
We might have been
still
able,
make the shot.
and we might have been able to hear some of the fans there who were down at the ice level showing their approval on that shot. Some Murphy fans braving the cold.
So frustrating for Team Dacey. I mean, that rock, if even a few feet lighter of Steve's, would have made that shot harder. But they still have a stone out front. Andrew's trying to go around. Looks like it's going to be deep.
Murphy will sweep it towards the back and comes to a rest in the back 12.
See if Paul can see it, but they might just play the run on the front one. Think he can see enough of that one to get anything? Oh yeah, you can see a bunch of it.
half or even maybe more than half.
Well, it's way better from the hack than it does from the overhead.
Paul Fleming here in 7. Roll on it for line. Just gets by the yellow at the top, and they'll remove that. The shooter also goes out of play as well.
So Andrew will have another shot here. A few feet lighter, we'll get that extra curl, make this buried. Hopes to sit this right around the tee line. There's not a lot of places to hide here for this Dacey team. And that one guard coming a little deep.
Luke Saunders, Stephen Burgess going hard on this throw here by Andrew Gibson. The Mark Dacey team out of the Mayflower Curling Club. And this looks heavy.
Just light.
Oh, is it light? He is going to just touch that yellow one that's outside. So as you said, it is light.
Unless, if by heavy you meant light.
It's a Sunday morning.
It's been a long week, Dan.
I was thinking it's going to go a lot further than what I put the brakes on.
Yeah, with the sweepers on it, you knew it was they're going for line, but that's usually because it's light as well. Yeah. Lighter rocks will curl a bit more. So not taking chances. Those are two guards that Team Dacey can use. Oh, we'll try and peel them both out.
And he's right on the money. Spills those 2 stones. Shooter goes out of play as well. And you mentioned it a few seconds ago when not many places to hide, and Dacey makes his way up here in 7.
No, and when the other team's playing defensive and literally not missing, you really don't have places to hide. But this will be a freeze, so that stone, that yellow Murphy stone at the back, the insurance rock is now, it's not so much an insurance rock as a freeze stone now. But if this isn't perfectly frozen, Jamie Murphy will have a chance to hit it out anyway. So Mark's looking for a nice freeze here. Needs to be T-line and right on the nose at Yellowstone. This one's curling early, which makes me think it might be light.
Been a little bit of the sort of the Dacey stories that came light up on a few, and there, that pretty well says it right there, the reaction there for Burgess.
It's very frustrating, and you make it so hard to get to the provincial final, and to just, the slight misses are making the difference in the game. And so here we see Jamie. He's not necessarily going to have to blank now. He can sit 2 and have a shot at potentially getting 2 points, getting a single point. As long as this is even with the other yellow, there'll be no advantage to freezing around the now blue guard. Will be on this stone.
First to 2 for Murphy.
Top 4 means there would be a hit and roll behind the stone that Mark just threw with. So they want to make sure this is back.
1
And that is very nicely lined up, even with the other stone. Even a little deep, but Mark's just going to have to play the freeze on this. It's the only protection he has. He can't freeze the other stone, he won't be shot. And he can't hit this because it would be an open hit for 2. So the freeze is the call.
Been trailing since pretty well. The first stone in this one is Dacey is on its way here in 7 with his last. And as Slater Thompson mentioned, freeze the call.
Waiting for this one to curl. Looks like Mark gave it a little bit extra compared to the other stone.
Slight bump.
So that just hit a little high side, that tiny bit extra weight, not sweeper's weight. And it's a difficult adjustment to make. You're throwing in 2 different paths. One curls way more than the other. We see that one was the under curl, the other one was the over curl. But Jamie will have a hit. He's not going to worry too much about his back yellow. Hit this one on the nose. If it happens to squirt his yellow out of the rings, so be it.
Now you can see the extra cleaning there by Zachary and Fleming. Not taking anything for granted here. This Murphy team out of the Halifax Curling Club. As a final stone, it's on its way here for Jamie Murphy.
It's showing enough weight that I think that the blue should spring. Shooter rolls out, so it will be only a score of 1, but you don't want to take any chances in this scenario. That'll make it 9-3.
9-3 as we head to the 8th. So Dacey, as you see, with the hammer going right up to the top of the scoreboard, we'll create it right on your screen. We'll have the hammer throwing the blue stones. Came in, of course, cooking with gas. This Dacey team. It started off with 2 wins and 2 losses and 3 straight wins. As Kroll will just do the statistics favorite shot and just throw it through. And Dacey, of course, needing stones, just will put up a guard here to start things off in the hands of Luke Saunders.
They got the little bit of the miss there on Jamie's, so just a single point. Like I mentioned, not going to take any chances, and scoring is good. The more you score when you're up, the better. You just want to limit the other team's scoring. So it is still 6 points here, 3 ends to go. So that math is score 2, steal 2, steal 2. Score 3 might help a little bit there, so they'll go pretty hard for it.
And it's just a repeat of the last one there for Kroll. When you're leading, rocks aren't your friend, so he'll just put this one through once again. Folks just joining us, this is the Deloitte Tankard final here in Bell 5 TV 1 alongside Slater Thompson. My name is Dan Hobson. Murphy got going pretty early. It's with a single point in 1. We stole 1 in 2nd, so it made it 2-0 after 2. Dacey with the hammer got a single point in 3. And then Murphy with hammer in 4 put up a 3 spot. So he broke out to a 4-1 lead. And then just before the 5th end break, seen this a lot at the championships, a steal of 3. That opened things up here. And Dacey with 2 in the 6th, and Murphy just got a single point in 7. So 9-3 as we play the 8th.
There is a double on these 2 guards. Luke's second one just a little bit. I think the second one was the higher one than his first. So you won't see teams go for the double in a case like this. Just play it clean and don't get too much in your head. But it's Scott's pretty good at controlling that and should give him a good chance at making contact with both. And just thin on that, but makes the single peel. That's the one you want to make sure you make. So that's a little bit of adrenaline maybe through the extra weight, trying so hard to make the double peel, but made sure he got the one.
Another guard here for Burgess. Yeah, back of the sixth.
This one just picked actually. As it was coming to the final curl to the corner guard position, it grabbed something and just the handle switched. The weight dragged off. Makes it harder on the side that Scott just played it, but now it is a slash on the other turn. This is the out turn, we'll see.
Zachary, big weight in 8.
Just makes
Fleming.
the single.
Yep. Murphy,
he's
Fleming.
sweeping.
Yep.
The two non-sweepers on the team are sweeping. Shouldn't be so hard on Paul. He does sweep. Jamie definitely doesn't. No, they all these teams they both they do work out, and it's not just the skippers that don't. They just don't have to sweep as much in a game as the front end.
Gibson and Saunders going hard on this one here from Burgess.
Well, they're making these just over guards pretty nicely now. So we're at the third stones. This is Paul Fleming again. Paul's been making everything this game. Seems about right. He tends to do that.
Slight brushing from Kroll. And as you said, he's been on, and he was on that time.
Paul threw last rocks on the Chad Stevens team 2 years ago, and they lost in the final to this Jamie Murphy team with Jordan Pinder in the lineup, of course. That game went to an extra.
Burgess Saunders. Slight bump, and we'll push it in.
So that stone rubbed the front. It was probably going to be deep in the house, but we would have probably had a peel on the guards. This one is exposed, so Murphy team can hit. Might want to roll this stone out of the rings, though. It's just extra protection for Team Dacey. You can also roll it to block the path of the draw. So see what they've elected to do here. I think probably just nose is the call.
At the PO8, Zachary there with the scrub.
They really
They do get a little roll. As you said, they will stick.
Yeah, Mark is just going to ignore that anyway. He'll go around here. But he has to be cognizant of the fact that a thrown stone here is likely not going to be shot over that yellow on the side.
Plenty of room to come around, as you see, and Burgess going to take her and try to get it buried.
So that's a good one from Andrew. Just a little miss on his first, but no mistake there. Straight peels the call. Jamie's okay. Giving up the 2 here, getting hammer back. You just don't ever want to leave that guard out front. Chance Dacey making a second come around.
Murphy with a bullet here in 8. Zachary going to try to get it towards the side and easily goes to the wings and out.
Just hear Fleming said whoa on the peel call, and then Murphy responded, we don't need to guard. It was over curling a bit, and I think Paul had an inkling of a thought of, well, maybe we'll just guard our own, but Murphy says, no guards. Roll the shooter out, which he did. So now it's a hit to sit 2. If Dacey were to guard his own stone, I don't think Jamie would necessarily guard his own, but he might put a second one in the rings and sit 2. And that'd be a force. So you got to protect your chance to score 2. Sit 2 here, and as long as no crazy double is made, I think that these rocks are too flat to see that anyway. And you can get your 2 points.
I hear the huffing and puffing of Saunders was working on that one hard as they roll back 4.
Yes, there was a roll on that one. If it had nose, I think the double would have been too flat. It rolled so far now that there's a very thin double, but you actually play it the other way. Or you play the hit and roll in front, and I think they're actually going to play the hit and roll in front. Main objective, just make sure you remove one of the blue stones.
Murphy with his last here, and in number 8. Hits, rolls, stops in the 4, top 4.
That was a nice roll, a foot further or a rock further than they wanted. But it leaves it actually a fairly tough shot here. You cannot over curl. And this is that spot on the center line where we did see at the end of the game last night some picks starting to happen, or some flat spots. Players have to be careful too. They slide out and get really excited and leave their knee on the ice. So we've seen sweepers be careful, but if the ice has melted and warmed up and gotten any kind of a flat spot, that's what they're looking out for here. It's also be a soft weight tap. It is for 2.
He was held to a single point in the first half of this one. He got his deuce in 6. Final stone, Mark Dacey club. As Selena mentioned, trying to bump that yellow stone belonging to Murphy out. Sit there for the 2.
And this one looks good. Just nice, easy. Didn't grab the line. Great shot for the 2 points.
And does. Mark Dacey will now, of course, trailing Murphy 9-5 as we head to end number 9. Murphy will have the hammer throwing the yellow stones. You can pretty well see in the faces there of this Dacey team. It tells a little bit of the story.
I just wonder if Mark's talking to the umpire there. They really don't want to play this the rest of this game, and
there it is.
So they're going to let them shake.
Handshakes there, champions once again. Jamie Murphy out of the Halifax Curling Club, Philip Kroll, Scott Zachary, Paul Fleming, and Murphy himself, their coach Bruce Lonis, over Mark Dacey out of the Mayflower Curling Club. Luke Saunders the lead, second Stephen Burgess, Andrew Gibson the third, and skipped by Mark Dacey. And they shake hands after 8, and there are the fans that have made their way down to ice level, showing their for an effort here by Jamie Murphy, who will be once again representing Nova Scotia at the Briar in Regina. And hugs going for the fans, folks, family. at ice level. Congratulations to them once again. And for Mark Dacey, disappointment. But sometimes in this sport, it just, unfortunately, it just wasn't their day. And they were just really unable to get anything going, and were really trailing this one throughout the start to the finish.
Yeah, phenomenal week for Murphy, and really all year they were the top seeded team coming into this event and showed why they're two-time defending champions. Doesn't hurt to have a player missing and have a new guy join the lineup. I think has added to this team in a different way, and we've learned a lot this year. And Coach Bruce Lonis happy to go back. There he is coming out to celebrate the champs. So we are going to have the awards presented here, so stay tuned. And I think Dan, you probably have a little bit more to say, but then switch the mics over to ice level and listen to the presentation of the awards.
Yeah, we're going to down to ice level. Thanks once again, Slater Thompson, for your efforts here. And as I said, well, you can just stay here and watch the trophy presentations down at ice level. Of course, we want to thank everybody for tuning in, and of course thank our producer Sean Senegal. Signing off. My name's Dan Hobson. Glad you could join us.
And join us back for the women's final.
Yep, the women's final coming up at 2. Arsenault McDermott should be a dandy. We'll have it for you here on TV1. So long for now.